This is Surya Saha, and welcome to the Insurtech Story podcast, the platform to spread knowledge on insurance innovation, digital disruptions, and entrepreneurship. Our website, insurtechstory.com, and we are available on Spotify, Apple, and Google. Today, we will discuss on the topic improving digital customer experience through an API first approach in insurance. And to discuss this, I'm delighted to welcome our guest, Vikul Goyal, who is the founder and CEO of Bemaplan, an insurtech startup which is driving insurance adoption through technology. His previous startup, Car Crew, an online marketplace for automobile spares and services, was acquired by TVS, which is a large auto conglomerate based in India. Previously, he worked as an investment professional at Bessemer Venture Partners and GSF Accelerator. Vikul, I hope I have just pronounced that right.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thanks, Surya, for having me.
Great. Also, he's an active angel investor and has invested in startups across fintech and consumer internet sectors. Vikul has a Bachelor of Technology in Mechanical Engineering from IIT Guwahati and has an MBA from Harvard Business School. So, Vikul, welcome on board, and we are truly excited to have you for the show.
Thanks, Surya. Excited to be here.
Would you like to tell our audiences a bit about Bemaplan?
Yes. So, Bemaplan is an insurance technology company that helps democratize access to the right products for the uninsured segments in India. India, as you know, is a highly underinsured country, and there have been various reasons for it. And what we do is we provide a platform that connects the insurer with the end customer through an embedded approach.
Right, right. Of course, as you mentioned rightly, the penetration in India in insurance is pretty low, and I would personally would relate it to the inadequate awareness, the gap in understanding of insurance product that the market actually faces at current day, and startups like you are actually doing a tremendous job in bridging this gap through the help of technology. So, moving on to our discussion for the day, Vikul, adopting an API first strategy means that every aspect of the product or services will be used or accessed via various platform channels or even devices, right? So this also means that it is important to create functionalities that can be exposed as a reliable, reusable, and consistent API. So noting all these aspects, can you tell us how an API first approach or a model can create an impact on the digital customer journey in insurance?
Sure, Surya. So, if you look at the insurance distribution ecosystem in India, it is primarily led by three channels: banks through a bank assurance model, uh, physical agents,
Right.
either independent or associated with aggregators,
Mhm.
and brokers, large corporate agents and brokers.
Right.
By nature, all of these channels are, offline in nature and manpower intensive, and
Mhm.
therefore they have a limited reach, and their ability to sell lower priced products is constrained, right? They cannot sell lower priced products, and due to that reason, a large part of our population remains uninsured. Now, how do you bridge that gap? You need new age intermediaries
Mhm.
who can provide the right products through the right channels and reach to this population, right? And
Right.
this is where digitization through an API first approach, as you mentioned, comes into play. Uh, if you look at what this does, right, it predominantly addresses three aspects of distribution. One is personalization, and I'll come to each one of them, right?
Yep.
One is personalization. The second is scalability, and the third is efficiency or cost effectiveness. Now, so far insurance products have largely been these sort of vanilla one size fits all kind of products, because they were targeting, insurers were targeting a relatively small affluent demographic segment, right?
Hmm.
But if you go beyond that, you see differences in lifestyle, differences in occupations, in personal preferences, in awareness levels, and so on and so forth, right? And therefore, that translates into different risk profiles across geographies, across occupations, across cultural societies, right?
Right.
And also, as you go down the economic pyramid,
Hmm.
the price sensitivity increases significantly, right? So all of this means that it's very important to customize the product or personalize the product to
Hmm.
serve the need for the segment that you're targeting, right?
Yeah.
So that the end customer can get the maximum benefit for the money or the premium that they are paying, right?
Right.
Just to give you an example, a farmer will have a very different risk compared to a gig worker, compared to a shopkeeper. Similarly, a person living in the coastal regions will have a different risk profile compared to someone who's living in mountainous regions, and so on, right? So you have to take into account all of these factors and run different models in designing these products. And therefore, you need to collect a lot of data. And
Right.
what an API essentially does is it takes in data from different sources and seamlessly connects that data to the insurer's interface, which was up until now done manually or through Excel sheets, which are not really scalable, right?
Hmm.
So in essence, personalization is extremely important, and an API based approach allows you to personalize the product as well as the product journey, so that you can reach more number of people and you
Right.
can reach them
Right.
and in an effective manner. So that's number one, right?
Yeah.
Number two, scalability. Like I mentioned, up until now, you can have data in paper based forms, or Excel sheets, or if you look at digitization, so far you will use some kind of a web portal that an insurance company will provide you. Now, these are all very cumbersome and sort of legacy ways of interacting with the customer or with the intermediary, right? It creates a friction at the point of sale, due to which it takes more time to sell the product. You are able to reach less number of people, and therefore you cannot create a scalable distribution. What an API based approach, the one that we are developing, does is creates a single API to be able to underwrite and issue multiple products, distribute multiple products, and allow a large number of touch points, right? Whether digital or offline, to be able to easily sell those products, right?
Right. Yeah.
Therefore, thereby sort of creating scale. And the third part is, as the price of the product goes down, to sort of make it more affordable for a larger section of the society, you need to bring the cost of distribution as well as the cost of operations down. Therefore, you cannot afford to have highly manual, labor intensive processes which are time consuming, repetitive in nature,
Hmm.
uh, to have, because all of these things increase the cost.
Right.
And therefore, a digital first approach brings that cost down, it removes various layers in between, and is able to reduce the cost for the end customer, thereby making the products affordable. So if you look at the combined impact of that, I believe this is going to be the primary way by which you will cover this, so-called missing middle in India that has escaped the benefits of insurance so far.
Right. Yeah, true. Talking about API and especially Bemaplan being one of the pioneers in building an API platform for embedded insurance in India, do you see an opportunity in digital insurance products through the use of shared data, open APIs, and open source technologies in this particular region? I mean, how do you see this shaping it?
Yeah, absolutely, Surya. Like I mentioned, legacy distributors have limitations in terms of the reach that they have, and due to their offline nature, or
Mhm.
largely sort of lack of technological intervention, and due to sort of the inability to sell a lower price product, right? Because of their own cost structures
Yeah.
that exist, right? So a digital first company or an intermediary can address both of these points, right? And therefore reach this population that was previously not accessible to the insurance companies. You need different types of products. You need a different sort of approach, in the sense that an awareness needs to be created, or an education needs to be imparted to the end customer as to why that product is useful in their life. um, and the a different seller or a touch point needs um, to be empowered to be able to
Right.
sell those products, right? Those kind of products.
Yeah.
Um, and when you redesign that whole system, you need to keep in mind the overall cost structures, and that is doable, and in a very short period of time we have seen that come through in our own experience.
Mhm.
um, the second part here is, everyone needs instant gratification,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Attention spans are reducing, and therefore you cannot have an approach that you talk to the customer today and it takes 30 days to issue a policy. uh, Either someone else will come in, or the customer will find a different solution. You need to be able to provide an instant solution to the customer's need, and is only possible through a digital first API led approach.
Right. As you mentioned, and your focus on the embedded insurance segment, uh, you know, leveraging technology and integrating the same within the insurance sector, or rather integrating it in insurance solutions to better customer journeys, is nothing but what we are actually looking at to term it as embedded insurance, right? So for a customer, it would mean better services, better way of getting things, and better products for ensuring their perceived or any current risk. And for any businesses, it will certainly give them the opportunity to attract and retain customers. So being in this particular field, uh, implementing this technology as a strategy, it would require more than just software development expertise, right? So, and to properly set it up, one need to be able to use the underlying technologies and tools very well. So what, according to you, are the important factors to consider in order to build a successful API based architecture in insurance? Something on the Indian context would be certainly helpful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think internally we call it the three A's,
Right.
and they basically translate to awareness,
Mm-hmm.
affordability,
Right.
and accessibility, right? See, technology and software are enablers
Mm-hmm.
in creating the awareness. First, if you look at a person, right, they need to understand that such a product exists and
Right.
I need that product, right? Which up until now, that awareness did not exist. I think thanks to COVID, many people now realize that this is a tangible risk. People could get sick, or there could be a loss of job, or a business could go under, and or there could be various events that could lead to uh, a household falling into a poverty sort of trap. So you need to first be able to create that awareness that this is something important and it will improve my life and my family's life.
Right.
That's the first step.
Yeah.
And then you need to make sure that your solution or your product is affordable and is within the financial means of the end customer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the third is, once you've done that, you have to create an easy journey, or create accessibility for that customer to easily buy that product, right?
Yeah.
um, in essence, your technology should enable these three levers to be able to create the desired outcome, which is increase in insurance penetration. Um, what an embedded model, or an API first approach, like you mentioned, does is it leverages existing distribution chains or distribution networks, and it kind of rides on their reach, um, for obviously a different product or a service, and the trust that those platforms or organizations have with their consumers or their customers, right? Um, and helps them to cross sell or upsell an insurance product which could inherently cover the risk in that underlying product or a service,
Mm-hmm.
or a related kind of a risk that the person may face, not on account of that product or service, right?
Right.
But still that exists, and therefore you could leverage that relationship that exists to be able to sell that product, right? And it just creates efficiency for everyone in the value chain.
Yeah.
The customer gets a better product and a better service. It generates better engagement with the point of sale or the organization. The organization is able to create an additional revenue stream, and the insurer gets access to a customer segment that it previously did not have access to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a happy situation. It's a win-win for everyone, and you can create a large distribution um, at virtually zero fixed cost.
I know you mentioned a very valid point that across the value chain, efficiency is actually the key in today's modern insurance, and distribution is being one of the key element apart from the claims, you know, aspect of the insurance business where the sector is actually struggling. And I believe technology will certainly help leverage these functions. Um,
Absolutely.
Vikul, just out of curiosity, I was just going through Bemaplan. I would really, like to learn a bit more on it, and especially for the benefit of our audiences. You have a product named Uno, right? So you are very categorically and very nicely have mentioned through a flowchart how with your product. I believe this is an embedded insurance product. So with this product, you're actually streamlining the value chain for the product from client to the customer. So can you please help understand this product a bit more?
Yeah, so Surya, uno is Spanish for one,
Right.
and what that really signifies is that by a single API integration,
Mm-hmm.
any organization or business can embed multiple products from multiple providers, multiple insurance companies,
Mm-hmm.
and serve the needs of their different customer segments. All they need is one API integration with Bemaplan through the
Right.
Uno platform, and that's sort of how we want to ease the relatively complex insurance distribution journey. We are still early on this journey, but I think what we have seen is very promising
Mm-hmm.
signs of adoption, and we believe that this is going to be key to be able to serve the evolving needs of different industries and
Yeah.
people working in those industries, right? Um, Maybe 5 6 years ago, you wouldn't need to have, we really did not have gig workers as a separate category of workers, right, or class of
Very true.
workers.
Yeah.
Their needs are very different from regular corporate employees, and therefore traditional products or traditional modes of distribution do not really work for it. And just to give you an example, right, let's say if you are a gig worker on a certain platform, you may work for a few hours in a day, or a few days in a week, or a few weeks in a month, right? uh, how do you ensure someone who spend different times on your platform, right?
Yeah.
Or different sort of effort. Do you provide the same coverage to everyone, or do you kind of use it as a tool to create loyalty or a value added sort of benefit that enables gig workers to engage more with your platform, right? Of course, there is a sort of a moral liability that you can say, the aggregators or the platforms will have to make sure that people working on those platforms are safe and are covered from any risks arising out of that. But what about the risks beyond working for those platforms? What about the families of those gig workers, right? So there are various nuances and implications that an aggregator or a worker or a provider will have to consider to be able to come out with the best solution. Secondly, purely from an execution standpoint, if you were to do this through the traditional means of collecting data on Excel sheets, it will require huge amount of bandwidth operationally to administer these kind of programs, right? So
Mm-hmm.
so which will ultimately end up increasing the cost, and therefore will inhibit platforms to be able to provide the right coverages that they need to provide, right? So it's all linked, and we are working with a couple of such platforms, and our platform kind of enables these aggregators or these organizations to provide the right solution or the right risk cover to their gig workers in a very cost effective manner, right? And even between them, the processes are different, the requirements are different, right? But the beauty of an embedded platform or an API led approach is you can build different UIs on the same API, right? You can build different customer journeys to suit your specific processes and requirements, and that's sort of the key to customization and personalization, which we talked about earlier, and therefore increase in adoption both by the platform as well as their users.
True. I think the future of insurance is certainly, going to be embedded, and both for B2B and a B2C side of it. I think that's how insurance will run going forward.
No, as Anderson Horowitz says, every company is a fintech company.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think we will come to a point where every company will become an insurtech company.
true,
Because every company deals with people. People have
true.
risks, businesses have risks, and therefore they need to be able to effectively cover those risks, right?
Right.
So I think we will definitely come to a point. I think it's not it's not there yet, but I'm very confident that the efforts done by everyone in the ecosystem, right? Whether it's the providers or the insurtechs or
Mhm.
traditional distributors, everyone has a place in the
Yeah,
in the overall sort of value chain. But I think we will see that insurtech companies will increasingly play a dominant role in providing better solutions, in democratizing access, and creating affordability, so that everyone can get covered. And it makes more sense. Uh, a middle income person probably needs that uh, safety shield more than someone who already has a lot of resources or savings or assets that can be used to provide that safety net, right? So
right.
it becomes even more important of a tool to that person who does not have much to begin with, and that's sort of our um, goal is to be able to provide the right coverage to the needy, to someone who needs it the most.
Absolutely. I mean, rightly mentioned there. Every insurance will be part of every product in the coming days that we buy, and India and Asia Pacific is the emerging, or rather the hotbed for this particular segment, and it's going to be interesting. And yeah, we all in the insurance fraternity are excited to see what's coming tomorrow. So thank you, Vikul. It was a fantastic discussion, and thank you for sharing your thoughts today. It was a delight, a true delight to have you as our guest. And lastly, to wrap this up, thank you for listening, and see you at our next episode. Take care and stay safe. Goodbye for now.